Okay, so today's video is about just giving tips for like your 10s and 11s who want to do well in their GCSEs, and this advice is coming from somebody who got 7s and 8s in her GCSEs. I'll start off by saying I'll start by saying what subjects I did. I did core maths, English language, English literature, religious studies. I had to do it. If you go to my school, you have to do RS. And double science, combined science. Then I did Spanish, sociology, history, business. Yes, that's 9 subjects and I received 10 grades because for combined science you get 2 grades. I got 6 8s, 3 7s and 1 5. 5 was Spanish, guys. Spanish does not matter. I promise you, Spanish does not matter. I did well in every single subject apart from Spanish. Struggled with Spanish the most, and there's various reasons for that, but that's not the point of the video. Yes, that will probably be my first tip. Pick subjects you enjoy. If you don't enjoy the subject, don't do it. If you haven't done the subject before, like when I was going into year 9, I chose sociology. I'd never done sociology before. Do a bit of research into it, like to figure out if it be something that you like. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be doing this subject for like 2 years. You don't want to be doing something you don't enjoy. Because when you do something you don't enjoy, you're not going to pay attention in the lesson. You're not going to do the extra work to achieve the grades you want. It's just going to be a really long 2 years for you, and you really don't want that. So that's my first tip. Choose subjects you enjoy, and I'll just like to hand out a warning for all languages. They are not easy at all. You're learning a completely new language. See how I'm talking to you right now? Imagine that all in a different language. Yeah, and it's not like they're teaching you how to say hi, hello, blah blah blah, like how to have a conversation. They're teaching you they're teaching you random stuff basically. But if you want to do it, you do it. Just be prepared. It's not easy, okay? Second tip. Do your homework. Just first of all, do your homework. My advice would be to do your homework the day you get it, or as soon as possible from the day you get it. First of all, do your homework, because for some, I don't understand why you would want teachers chasing up on you all the time about where your homework is. Just hand in your homework when it's due. Just get it done, and so that they're not like, oh, bring in next lesson, then you don't have it. Bring in next lesson, then you get concerned. Like, just try to behave. Do your homework on time, because first of all, it makes you look good. Second of all, you want your teachers to like you, because your teachers can make your life really difficult. At the end of the day, these are your teachers. Like, most of your time is going to be spent in school, so in their lessons. So you want them to like you, or at least not think you're a bad child. Because when they think you're a bad child, and when you annoy them and you disrupt their lessons, they can make your life difficult. You're in school for what, 6 hours a day? Guys, if the teachers want to, they can make your life difficult. They don't, just don't test them if you don't need to. Don't test them. That doesn't mean let the teachers run your life, and if they do something that you think is not right, let them know. At the end of the day, they're still people, but also remember they are people, so have respect. Give respect where respect is due, basically. And do your homework, because sometimes it does actually help. I can't really remember loads of times where the homework was really, really helpful. I really needed it. That was never really the case. But homework is just get it done out the way. At GCSE level, I never really found it too hard. It's just something that takes probably less than an hour to do, and you probably don't get much of it either. So just get it done out the way. Point number 3. Keep your exercise books neat and tidy. I say this because it helps in the future. When you have your notes in your book, it saves you a lot of time. Then you don't have to go write out a whole nother bunch of notes because your exercise book is messy and you can't read it. Just keep it neat and tidy. Write down what your teacher tells you to, and then when you come to revision, whenever you need to revise, when it comes to for actual GCSEs, when it comes for revising for mocks, it's all there and you don't have to write them all out again. yeah, that's another thing. Don't waste your time writing out loads and loads of notes, because most of the time it's not helpful. I would just say, like, use your class notes to get like a basic understanding, then like use other methods to like I don't know what I'm trying to do, like cement that understanding and knowledge, if that makes sense. But I'll get on to other ways you can do that later. But for now, just keep your class notes tidy, because it will help you. You don't have to write out a whole bunch of other notes. Me, talking from experience, my history book, it's the only thing, like my history book, I read through all of those notes again. I didn't write out any other notes for history. I read through them, all the ones I did in class, and it helped me. It actually really did help me. And then obviously using other things, so you don't just use that one book, but obviously I use other things, but I'll get onto that later as well. But my history book, I just used the notes that I wrote in the lesson, like throughout the course of 3 years. Like, I kept my books. Guys, keep your books, don't throw them away. If you want to throw them away from year 7, 8, 9, fine. But in your GCSE course content stuff, keep your books, because they'll probably come in handy. There'll be something, like, when you're trying to understand something, it's good to read, like, to have different sources explain it to you. So if you have, like, your teacher explain it to you, if you don't understand, or you have, like, a slight understanding, go somewhere else, like BBC Bite Size, then read what they have to say about it, better understanding. Go watch a video, they explain it, firm understanding, you understand what they're talking about, and then you just, you know, that will help in the long run. So just the general point, keep your class notes tidy, because then you can revise from them later. Fourth tip, make flashcards. Oh my days, flashcards is really what saved me, especially with like content heavy subjects like history and science. Make flashcards, please, please, please. Don't do what I did and spend hours writing out notes. Let me tell you what I did. I like would write out all the notes in class. Then I had these 3 notebooks for science, one for chemistry, one for biology, one for physics. I went onto BBC Bite Size and I wrote out exactly what it said on BBC Bite Size and just read it into that notebook. Why would I do that if BBC Bite Size is always going to be there? A better thing that I should have done, which I did end up doing later on for business after I'd read out all those notes anyway, but later on down the line, I did go back to BBC Bite Size and instead of writing out all the notes, I made flashcards. How do you make flashcards? What I would say, I wouldn't recommend like writing short. Sometimes, yeah, you might need flashcards to like summarize things, just like a few points so you can summarize everything. But for the most part, when you're writing flashcards, what I would do was I would write like a question, and then on the back would be the answer. I would use this for, in fact, let me get it up. I've got my iPad in front of me. Let me get it up. I use Quizlet for all my flashcards. I don't even write them out in like on like actual paper flashcards. I did it all online, because then it's just like it's all there and I'll never lose them and they're always going to be there, and I can log into it from different accounts. Oh my gosh, little story time. It was like during exam season, GCSE exam season, like it was a Friday and I know the next week we had a chemistry exam, and we had like, during exam season we didn't have any lessons, so we just had like these free periods we could study. So we were in like a study room, yeah, we were in there, blah blah blah, me and my friends were in there. We left, my friend left her flashcards in there that she was going to use to revise for chemistry over the weekend. She comes back on Monday, they're not there. She lost her flashcards the weekend before her exam. And yeah, that's why I just say, if you're gonna write them on paper, be careful. I did flashcards for history, I did it for business, I did them for Spanish as well, for like the vocab. I did sociology and English literature. For example, for sociology you have to learn like a bunch of case studies, so I would write, and you need to know like what the case, are they called case studies? What are they called? Oh, they're called key studies, not case studies. You have to know a bunch of key studies, who wrote them, and basically what the key study said. So for example, for one of my flashcards would say, what is Parsons' findings? Parsons is a sociologist. I needed to know what he said. And on the other side, I wrote what he found and what he believed what his findings were. Yeah, so basically write a question and then write the answer on the back, or do it on one side, you know, however you need to do it on whatever flashcard app paper you use. This method is called active recall, and it's really good. Like, it's recommended by like anyone who knows what they're talking about, to just help you remember knowledge. And what you should be doing is you write them out and then like keep coming back to them every now and again, so then you properly understand and you remember them. Another thing, I would recommend doing your notes and making revision materials as you go along. Like, don't wait till you're 11 to start like making these flashcards, because then you have like a year or 2 years worth of content that you need to make revision stuff for. Too much, and that year you just want to be going over things. So I would be saying, as you go along, then be making them. Okay, so 5th point, this is kind of common sense, but you'd be surprised like how many people think GCSEs are just something you can just like go to your lessons, show up, go home, do nothing, and then just expect to get good grades. It doesn't work like that. I know there are a few people who that will work for, like very few people who are just really smart and will remember everything their teachers ever said. But for most people, you will need to put in extra work. Like, don't expect to just show up to the lessons and then go home and then sit your exam and for you to come up with a 9. That's not how it's going to work. Like, it just won't, okay? If you want to do well, put in the work, okay? That's basically the tip. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. Just make sure if you don't understand something, make sure you go away, do exam questions, do things like that. To summarize that point, actually put in the work and do what you have to do, because your 7, 8s and 9s are not going to come to you just like that, okay? Also, to add on to that point, if your friends are telling you they're not revising, or people are saying, oh yeah, I'm not revising, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them, because they're lying to you. They're lying to your face. I had a friend, yeah, I have this friend, she's still my friend, like she's one of my closest friends too. She said she would come into like the mocks and even the real exam, she was like, oh no, I didn't revise, I was revising for the other exam. When this girl got her results, I knew this girl was revising. First of all, I knew this girl was a very hard-working girl. She's a very hard-working girl. So I don't know who she thinks she was tricking when she said she wasn't revising. She did not. She was like, oh yeah, I didn't revise. She revised. She definitely revised. Your friends who are telling you they aren't revising, they are revising. And on the results day, when they come with the good grades and you're there with 2s and 3s, yeah, just think about your life. Think about your life. This is point 6. I feel like I need to hurry up because I'm going too much into it, and this video I don't want it to be too long. Anyway, tip number 6. Basically, if you don't understand something in lesson, ask your teacher then and there, because then it's fresh in your mind, and then it's just easier as somebody who has experience learning, like teaching, and knows what they're talking about. Ask them then and there, because it just makes life so much easier leaving the lesson knowing you understand it. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to not understand it. You might say, oh yeah, I can learn it outside. Then you won't get back to it. Then you'll forget what you actually did. Then you'll just have to relearn the whole thing. You won't understand it. So just to make your life easier, ask your teacher questions. If you don't understand something, ask your teacher, talk to them. If you're embarrassed to put your hand up in lesson, think about it this way. You're going to be the one getting those good grades and jumping up and down on results day, while the people and somebody else is probably probably find your question helpful as well, whereas the people who just sit at the back and stay silent are probably not going to do as well. That's what's going to happen. So just put your hand up. It doesn't matter what people think of you. Like, get out of this mindset of caring what people think, because at the end of the day, if you're taking your GCSEs this year, like you're in year 11, there's a big likelihood you're not going to see them next year anyway. So just ask the questions you need to ask, okay? Okay, I think we're on number 7. I think we're on tip number 7, I think. This is another one. So tip number 7 would be to use different resources. So like I just said, ask your teacher questions, blah 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 blah, ask your teacher questions. But what I found is that other sources or other websites, other videos, they will explain things that I will understand easier. one example, in maths, I had a maths tutor, and my maths tutor taught me how to complete the square. The way he taught me was very quick and easy. When we were learning it a few weeks later in class, my teacher went the longest way around the whole thing. And like, I found it easier to do the way that my math teacher taught me. Moral of the story, I'm not saying you need to go out and get a math tutor, but I'm saying like it's still the same concept. Different sources will teach you different ways, and those different ways will be easier. Well, that's for maths anyway, and just in other subjects, different sources will teach you like different ways of understanding it, if that makes sense. So you never know, somebody might be a website, a video might be out there that explains it and makes you understand it better than what your teacher explains it, or you know, vice versa. So just always go out and like look into other sources, into other websites, into other videos and stuff, because even if it doesn't help you like understand it better, or you already have a firm understanding, it gives you a better understanding, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I think I'm waffling, but basically use different sources to cement your knowledge and just to make sure that you properly understand what you've been taught. And then I will link a few things, like a few websites and sources that I use during GCSEs, like for maths, for English, that just really helped me. When like a few different sources, BBC Bite Size is very, very good, especially for like science and things like that, so I would definitely recommend them. But yeah, and my last and final point is to be positive. Take it for granted like how optimism will really help you. I think like, and when I say be positive, I mean like literally be positive. Don't talk down on yourself. Don't say, oh, I don't understand it. Like I said, ask your teacher questions, go away, put in the extra work so that you make sure you properly understand it. Go over things regularly so that you understand it. When you start to say, oh, I don't understand, I don't know, blah, 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 things like that, like I can't wrap my head around it. When you start to say that, your brain literally switches off. It literally switches off. This is like literal psychology. When you start to say things, your brain starts to believe you and will literally just not stop trying to understand. So no matter how hard you look at a piece of paper, no matter how many times you try to wrap your head around it, if you are dead set on like just you don't understand it, your brain will not try to understand it. Your mouth needs to be like in correlation with your brain, otherwise it's just not gonna work. I promise you, your brain will literally switch off. Guys, don't take it literally, but you get what I mean. Like this is literally psychology, and the Bible even says there is power in the tongue. Watch what you say, because when what you say starts to affect your life, and then like it's crazy. But I promise you, be positive. Start, instead of thinking like, oh, I don't understand it, start thinking, what is another way that I could try maybe understand this point? What is another way around it? How could I improve? How can I do better? You know, there's always ways like to improve, you know. Communicate with your teacher. If you need help, let them know. Your teachers are there to help you. I would say abuse it, but don't literally abuse it, but use your teachers to the max. Like if you want to do extra questions and they need to be marked for like English literature, you can't really mark an essay by yourself, so give it to your teacher. Use them. They are there. Use them. I promise you, it doesn't matter if they find you annoying. At the end of the day, when you're jumping up and down on results day, that's a good thing. Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, so use your teachers as much as possible and make sure that you're being positive. Like, I'm not talking about be just a jolly little person all around school hopping up and down, that's not what I'm saying, but don't be pessimistic and negative about like just life. Be grateful, be optimistic, you get where I'm going with that. Yeah, you get where I'm going with that. Anyway, that's all my points for today. Those are all my tips for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment like any other questions that you have, any other tips that you personally, if you've done your GCSEs or any other exam like that, comment any tips that you would have. Comment what your favorite tip is, what you think you really need to try out, and yeah, comment, like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. This is like my first sit down video, I think, and I really enjoyed just sitting here and talking to the camera, but yeah, I really did. So I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Please share the video with a friend.